Good morning. Welcome to the CSLDallas Science of Mind class. Delighted to be together again this morning as we are continuing to go through the power of thought. That's our chapter altogether. And we are in the chapter, The Atmosphere of Our Thinking. And I love that Ernest Holmes spends some time on this because we often make the mistake that we think, well, I'm going to really seriously do an affirmation, think a thought, and spend some time on it, and that's enough. But the atmosphere of our thinking, it really reminds us that it's the sum total of our conscious and subjective mind. It's the sum total of what we believe and expect, and those patterns of thinking, in addition to then the way in which we are shaping it with our conscious thought. So this is another one of these paragraphs. You know, sometimes Ernest Holmes can be a little pedantic and repetitive, and be very much, you should do this, and a theoretical. But every once in a while, there's like this just extraordinary paragraph. And the point of this paragraph is what we want in the atmosphere of our thinking is a deep recognition of ourselves. This is why, we're on page 142. I put my glasses on, I better make sure it's a 2 and not a 3. Yes, we're on page 142. And this is why it's so important for us to confront what we believe about life. It's not enough to just change the words. I'm going to say spirit instead of God. But if I continue to say, well, I'm going to see what spirit wants for me, we have basically simply put new thought words onto the idea of God's will. Well, it's God's will. I'm going to see what God has planned for me. And so this is why we spend so much time, and why Ernest Holmes spent the first part of this book on another entire paradigm about the nature of reality. And not only the nature of reality, but including who we really are. Not who we are psychologically, not who we are in terms of purely our humanness, but who we are as individualized expressions of the infinite. So I really want to just really take the emphasis of true mental healing. And healing here, and this means the healing of our sense of separation, the healing of our belief in limitation, the healing of the false beliefs and ideas that we have that keep us stuck or limited. Not just physical healing, although of course that's included as well. The emphasis on true mental healing is insistently on God, Spirit, the infinite one. The one mind, the one soul, the one being, ever present and ever available. Notice that it's not just spirit. It's not just love. It's the one mind, which is the intelligence and the power and the principle. The one soul, which is the impulse of life to express. And the one being, which is the absolute oneness of life as the being that is moving into creation. All of it. Not just a piece of it, not just the intangible spirit, but all of it. Okay? The one mind, the one soul, the one being ever present and ever available. And so the emphasis is insistently on the one and on our ability and right to make ourselves receptive to this presence. Our ability and right, which means that we are designed we are created to be the ones that have the right to claim this truth. to recognize it and claim it. We don't have to become worthy of it. We have the right to do this. A realization of the essential divinity of our own nature and the truth that no evil can live in this presence. So a realization of who we are, not a realization of who we are with our traumas and patterns and talents and unique expression. Beneath that, the essential truth of who we are, a realization of the essential divinity of our own nature. It doesn't say a realization of our ability to become divine. It doesn't say our realization of our need to bridge the gap between us and spirit. It doesn't say any of those things. The realization of the essential divinity of our own nature. Now, also our own nature, our opinions, not our beliefs about ourselves, but our actual nature, not even our talents, but our nature, which is made in the image and likeness of the one, right? Spirit, soul, and body, made in the image and likeness of the creative process. Not psychologically, but spiritually, metaphysically. We must unify ourselves with the great whole. I would say we must identify ourselves with the great whole. We must remember that that is our identity. And then I love this. I love this. I'm going to, gender neutralize it. The one who dares to fling their thought out to universal intelligence with the assurance of one who realizes their own divine nature and its relationship to the universe and dares to claim all there is, will find an ever-creative good at hand to aid him. Okay, so let's just stop there. When was the last time you flung yourself into the universal intelligence?
Never.
Right? Well, I'm going to do my spiritual work, and I'm going to decide I want this thing, but now I'm going to spend all my time trying to figure out how it's going to happen. I'm going to figure out how it's going to happen, and I'm going to worry about whether I'm making the right decisions. Manage the whole up into a tizzy about the whole thing. No. Fling oneself into universal intelligence. I mean, what a way. The trust in our essential divinity and the fact that the law is the law is the law is the law. It's working on the macrocosm level, and it's working on the microcosm level. And to fling ourselves into the intelligence, not into the hope that spirit will give us something. Not flinging ourselves, interestingly enough, into the love, but to fling ourselves into the intelligence. Do you see? If I fling myself into the love, then I'm knowing that spirit loves me and cradles me and is taking care of me and will make things happen for me, which isn't actually quite the way it works. The intelligence makes things happen for me because I trust it. And I've planted a seed, I've had an expectation, I've had a realization, and I just go for it because we have flung ourselves into this universal intelligence. I love this image so much. It's so awesome. Okay. With the assurance of one who realizes their divine nature and its relationship to the universe. Right? With the assurance of knowing the truth of who we are, that we are actually the microcosm of the macrocosm, that we are, in fact, spirit made manifest as individuals, and it is our right and our joy to create, to continually unfold life in new ways, try new things, experience and express in the confines of the physical body that we have, in the reality of the physical world that we have, but to recognize that it's our right to do this. and therefore something to be taken up with joy and verve and enthusiasm. And let's see what happens. Let's see what we can do. And dares to claim all there is. Right? And again, it's not, well, I'm going to wait and see what Spirit wants for me. I'm going to see what the divine plan is for me. No. It's claiming what there is for me. Right? And what I might claim is, I could claim a peaceful, joy-filled life, and I'm going to trust the universe is bringing that to me. I've flung myself into the intelligence, and it knows. Right? I mean, the master teacher said it knows before we've even articulated the request. But our daring to do that is an acceptance that we have a right to it, which means it's not clouded by all the ways in which we say, oh, but it doesn't really work out that way, and this is why it's, hard, or this is, I'm just not really worthy of it, right? All that stuff are the veils that we put on. This dare to claim all there is. And we'll find ever-present good at hand to aid him, right? To continue to move our lives in meaningful directions, to bring in serendipitous and coincidental and surprising things that we didn't actually decide on ahead of time, and we get to choose, and we get to understand that that's all of those things are part of the intelligence that we have flung ourselves into and dared to claim that it's true. God will honor his request. In this case, I think that when Ernest Holmes is using the word God here, it means the law, the principle, the power, honors our request, because all it can do is say yes. To the soul that knows its own divinity, all else must gravitate, right? That's the law of attraction. And when we know the truth of our being, we attract out of the deepest possible aligned space. And our attraction, the things we are attracting are in alignment not only with our own desires, but the very desires of life itself as us, which is to express joyful, creative, meaningful lives that contribute and that have beauty and peace and profound contribution in them. Let us then enlarge our thought processes. Now, this is what is the cornerstone of our atmosphere of thinking. Let us enlarge our thought process and dare to think in universal terms. When we're trying to figure it out, when we're trying to manage it, when we're trying to understand how it could possibly be possible for us to have this or that or manifest or experience or figure, right? We're thinking in individual terms. We're thinking in terms of the individual human being. But when we fling ourselves into the intelligence, when we know that the divinity of our being, and we dare to claim, and we recognize that all of that is based on universal thinking, which is another way of saying spiritual principles. Universal thinking. Principles not bound by precedent. Okay, it may not have worked out yesterday or last week or last month, but principles not bound by precedent. That's a universal thought. Do you see what I'm saying? I don't have to convince myself that I've now somehow changed. I have shifted my whole thought atmosphere into seeing things from a universal macrocosmic point of view and recognizing that if this is my divinity, then these same things are just equally as present in my own life. And we want to create that atmosphere of thinking that we are walking around in the world to the best of our ability in this universal point of view. Let us dare to believe that every constructive word is invincible. Let us dare to believe that every constructive word is invincible. So the more we align ourselves with this universal truth about who we are, how it works, what's really going on in terms of the universal nature of reality, and recognize that that is equally as true about us. Do you see? That's the most constructive thinking we can have. And we often think our constructive thinking is, well, I'm just going to think positively about this particular thought or about this particular thing. Not a bad place to start, but that's not the universal constructive thinking. Do you see? Universal constructive thinking is to always think within the context of the universality of the macrocosm and our nature being the same as that. Then our thinking is always constructive because we always can see the truth. We always know what's true, that other people are just as much a part of the divine as we are, that their life is just as much spirit and expression. So those children or family members that we become anxious about, right? We can have that universal thought. We can fling ourselves into the intelligence of the universe and trust that their life is just as much in the truth of the one as we are. And so now our relationship and our conversation and everything changes. And we're not like, oh God, I hope that person gets it and this is terrible and it's so awful, and right? Yeah, so we can say this is not constructive what's happening, but we're coming at it from an entirely different point of view. The atmosphere of our thinking and the way that we talk about it today is we talk about it as the level of our consciousness, or to grow a consciousness about this. So we can say we grow a prosperity consciousness, we grow a healing consciousness, we grow a consciousness of oneness, right? To have a consciousness of something is to be in that universal experience and sense of it, as opposed to just that infinite, our own individualized, limited human sense, which also means that at some point we're so living in that consciousness, we don't actually have to keep worrying about manifesting individual things. I mean, we can, if we want them, no problem. But we don't have to keep fixing our lives by thinking of individual things we have to manifest. When we have a consciousness of abundance or prosperity, our life overarchingly becomes abundant. And if we're not there yet, great. Then we have to, get the money to pay off the credit cards. We have to manifest the rent or an apartment that fits in our budget, or a job that, makes us a little more money, right? Those are the incremental things which we can manifest. And as we manifest them, we build a consciousness of abundance, because we recognize that when we speak our word, use the nature of life itself, things start to move in alignment with the way life as a whole is unfolding. So this is just an extraordinary chapter, and it helps us get out of the idea that all we're doing is psychological positive thinking. It's not what we're doing. It helps. It's a great place to start. But psychological positive thinking actually becomes the result of this understanding of constructive thinking, that it creates an overarching thought atmosphere. And then we can look at things that are going on that are challenging or frightening, that are going on in our world, on our planet, and we can stand in a more constructive place with it, because we are operating from this constructive point of view. All right, so it's so critical. And basically what I've described to you are the first two steps of spiritual mind treatment. It's basically what I've described to you. And so if you don't know about spiritual mind treatment, or you are not yet practicing spiritual mind treatment, or you want to finally dive into it, you need to get into one of our home study groups for our Step Out in Faith program. The entire month of March is to teach and practice spiritual mind treatment. And the first 2 steps are all about over and over and over again getting a hold of exactly what we just talked about and starting to own it and own it and own it until it becomes the thought atmosphere in which we are walking around. So I cannot urge you enough to get into a home study group for our Step Out in Faith program this spring, because this is what it's about. And it's appropriately titled, Are You Ready to Receive? Not, Are You Ready to Manifest? Because that's from this side still having to make it happen. Are You Ready to Receive stands on the other side of knowing this truth and having embodied it over and over and over again, embodying it deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper. So that's my plug for home study groups for March. And I'm super excited about the workbook and the videos. Ryan has done a fabulous job on the videos. Aaron is doing an amazing job on the workbook. You do not want to miss out. Okay.
Sold.
There you go.
Well, it's not going to do it, I'll do it.
Yes, it's really cool. It's all about really anchoring this in. So having given my pitch, Ryan, I'm turning it over to you.
Jeez Louise, that was like 5 minutes. All right, I'm just kidding. It is important. You guys should join a home study group. And Petra, here in a second, I'm going to have Richard pan over to our audience, and we're going to do a magic trick for the people online. Ready, Richard? All right, here we go. All right.
Oh.
Now we're going back to Petra again. And she's missing the microphone. Voila!
Voila! It's the magic of cinematography.
Not only do you get educated, you get amazed and astounded here at the Science of Mind class every Sunday. We're doing magic tricks and so much more. So we want to encourage you guys to participate by raising your hand here in the audience. Hello.
Hello.
All right. And for those who are online, we'd love to see your hand raised. If you're in the Zoom room, you can find that button located down below under the reactions or the more button. And for all the fine folks who are joining us all over the world via Facebook, we love you, that you are in community with us. And make sure to check in, say hello, and share for a friend. You never know. So with that being said, just want to poll here in the room. Anybody have any thoughts, comments? Well, Ross, I got your hand up. Willie's got her hand up. So we're going to go.
And Nicole.
And Nicole. We got the whole front row here. And we want to hear from those who are online. Oh, I forgot. The people who put questions inside of the chat, I do keep those anonymous. I always like to say that in case somebody thinks that I'm going to say their name. So encourage you to put your question or comment inside the chat, and I can read that in the room as well. So we'll go to you, Ross. You have your mic on? Yep.
I certainly do.
All right. So go ahead, ask your question or comment.
I'm glad to have this home study thing, because this is not such an easy concept to get your arms around.
No.
One sentence of feedback. I faced a number of alternatives is what I'm going to do next. And then you said, it doesn't matter. You will learn, grow, and develop whichever one. I didn't realize how much stress I was under trying to make the decision when it doesn't matter.
Yes.
You win no matter what.
Yes.
As long as you're aimed in the right direction.
Yes, as long as if they feel like, well, I could do this and I could do this and I could do this. Yes, exactly. You could. So pick. And you can also go a few steps down the road and go, maybe not this one. I've tried it now and it's not quite right. And that's okay too. But we put so much stress on ourselves thinking there's a right answer.
That's exactly what the takeaway was.
Yeah.
And I got to say my favorite line, let us avoid the obvious.
Yes. Thanks, Ross. All right.
I'm Willie, and just listening to what you said about flinging yourself, the word fling itself sort of says let go.
Yes.
And I think that's the problem that a lot of us go through, because we throw it out there and then we pull it back.
Yes.
We don't quite let it go. So
Yes.
you gotta let go.
Yes. And now I think you've caught the exuberance of the word fling.
Yeah.
Right? And we don't trust. And so if we don't see it immediately, or we don't see it in a way that's obvious to us, or we don't see it taking the first couple of steps that we have already thought, then we think, oh no, I better take it back and figure it out.
And if you fling it out there and let it go, then you don't have to think about the how.
Correct. And then you can be surprised.
Yes.
Right? And go, I didn't know that's how it was going to come about.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
Cool.
Good. I think it's so wonderful that Ernest Holmes is always trying to help us get a hold of the flavor of what he's talking about. And so you've captured that sort of flavor of fling completely. I love it. And it can be hard for those of us who like to have a little control, like to know how it's going to work, to feel like we've got our steps. And of course, we're taught, have a plan. Plan A and B, right? I always think you need to have A, and then you need to have Z, which is where you're going to end up. The universal intelligence manages everything in between. Yeah.
I'm Nicole, recovering control addict. I've been sober of control for 0 seconds.
Totally get it.
I always want to make a comment when we have these kinds of discussions, and I think the word fling has really inspired a lot of us to immediately shoot our hands up in the air, like, oh, I have something to say about that.
Right.
And I did. I clung on to that word. I really love this paragraph in the book about flinging ourselves forward. When I think of flinging yourself, I think of a video game concept. A lot of video games have this format where at a certain point it will fling you forward, and you just have to grab as many of the little gold coins or rings or points that you can while you're going forward, and you can only move from side to side so far, and you are caught up in the second. You can't worry about what you've missed back there. You can't worry about too far going in the forward. What do I have access to right now? And when I fling myself forward through life, there's this control recovery exercise that I like to do, where I wake up in the morning and I just choose the first choice that presents itself to me, the first option that presents itself to me. And I've done this in bigger parts of my life. The first car that presented itself to me that worked and suited my needs, the first job that suited my needs, the first friend that said hello, the first outfit for the day turned out to be exactly what I needed. And I didn't even know it at the time. But then something else adds itself to the equation later in the day or later in the week that affirms that was the right choice.
Right.
And it's not that it was the right choice, because it's not that it was ever the wrong choice.
Right. But
it's
it was a
that
good choice.
any
But it was a good
choice
choice.
works. Yeah.
But it was one that worked, and it's a good choice.
Right.
Yes, good for you. I love that. And what you're doing is creating in that moment, or you're creating your life out of this general thought atmosphere that says, well, I'm just going to take the first thing that presents itself because I'm trusting that it's moving forward. And the other thing that's really important is in this sort of flinging, what allows us to actually notice the serendipities and the surprises and the coincidences is because we are in the present moment. We're not thinking about what we missed, and we're not thinking about all the steps ahead. We're not 5 steps ahead of us, because that makes us miss everything that's happening right here in the moment. And all of these things are acts of trust, right? That's a big part of what we're talking about here. It's that trust in the universal intelligence that it actually knows. And the other thing is, if we take that first outfit, or we take that first event, or we take that first thing, whatever is going on and wherever we want to go, the intelligence now has to take that into account as it's moving us towards that outcome and moving that outcome towards us. Which is another reason why it's not right or wrong. It's just, oh, it's good. Or it feels in alignment. Or I'm just going to try it and see what happens. And knowing that we can always choose again. Great. Okay, we got a hand behind you. Thank you so much. And do we have anybody online, or are we going to stay here in the room?
We're going to stay here, right in the room.
Okay.
Hi, I'm JL.
Good morning, JL.
Good morning. Just to stick on this fling thing, I think what's interesting is that word relaxed me a little bit more than surrender.
Yes. Yes. Interesting.
What's interesting about surrender is it almost feels like failure to a degree. Not that it is, but in my mentality, when I say I've surrendered, it's like, did I fail? Did I not? And I love the analogy I'm sorry if I got your name, honey bun, but Nicole, I love the analogy Nicole gave, because I know exactly what games you're talking about. When they just fling you and you're right, you can't think of anything else. You just have to be in that moment. And that really triggered home for me the idea of that's a surrender too. You are surrendering to the process of what's happening and what's going on. And so thank you for using that. I guess Ernest Holmes used it, but thank you for that word fling, because it's a little more relaxing to me.
I love that, and I love that you said that, because you have helped identify that I often find the word surrender. Well, truthfully, I think it has too many religious connotations, and I think it's too easy to think that we are surrendering to universal intelligence when when what we're actually doing is reverting back to surrendering to whatever God's will is, right? Or somehow, and for me, failure. There's a giving up of efficacy. Whereas I'm just really, this is just in the now moment. I love this, JL. I'm so happy you put those things together, because when I think of surrender, for me, there's a little bit of a loss of even the fact that I've surrendered my end result, my trajectory. Whereas when we fling ourselves into the universal intelligence, we're not giving up the fact that we chose to fling ourselves, and we're actually flinging ourselves in the direction that we're choosing. But we're not managing all the stuff in between and trying to, whereas surrender sometimes does feel as though I'm giving up not only control, but I'm actually even giving up the fact that I should want what I want, or I'm giving up a dream, or I'm giving up, there's an element of giving up which is appropriate when we're control addicts, but has that little bit more of a connotation. And so that's one of the reasons why I love this paragraph. I love this word. And because it's a deliberate and conscious act to fling ourselves into the intelligence of the universe.
Yes.
What are we doing? Are we?
Your microphone was coming off there a little bit. You got excited.
Oh, yeah, I see that. Thank you. I feel it. Thank you.
Just pulling here in the room. Anybody else have any thoughts,
Oh,
questions?
one there, and one there, and one here, and we're just
over,
going to town.
All everywhere. All right.
I'll be really short because I think mine's just kind of repeating what other people saying.
Good.
What
Say your name.
kind of helped me too, because I'm Stacy. So I'd always heard, like, accept yourself, and there was something about that, like pushing through. And for me, it was kind of the same thing we're talking about here, is using the word appreciation. So I appreciate these things, because when I had to accept that I'm a bit energetic and all these things, it felt like I was taking, okay, this isn't what it should be, and make it this way, when I was like, I appreciate that I'm incredibly energetic, or that I talk a lot. It's...
Yes.
So I think it's on the same thing.
Yes.
Is all of this is kind of feeding in, where you're taking something that feels more like you're pushing, and instead it feels more like it's uplifting.
Yes, I love that. And yes, acceptance can feel a little bit like resignation, or, it's that thing of, I'm going to tolerate it instead of celebrate it, right? And so to appreciate it. So let's be clear. There are no exactly right words for everyone. Okay, for some people, the word acceptance works great. For some people, the word surrender works great. What we have to do is not take on everybody else's words. But for me, words have flavor, they have texture, they have color. And I want to roll the word around in my mouth, roll it in my consciousness, and see what's the opening. And so if surrender works for you, for goodness sakes, we don't need to have a semantic argument, but you can bring forward, this is why it's a great word for me. Great. You might be speaking to people for whom that really works. But not to feel like we have to accept words because they come out of traditional religion or they come out of the way people all talk. A lot of people talk about spirituality, but to feel the flavor of it. And it's always about, does it open for me or does it contract? Is there an opening? Then use those words. And if it feels like it's a little bit less than, a little bit contracting, maybe that's not the word for you. So this isn't, again, about having the right word or the wrong word. It's about the flavor of the word that really allows us to get a hold of something important. So thank you so much, Stacy, for that. That was great. Okay, here we go.
Hello, Jerry here.
Hi, Jerry.
What I started thinking of, so I want to see if this is the right passage. Let's say in everyday life, let's say work or something like that. And let's say if somebody wants you to do something that doesn't exactly fit your morality. It could be something small, could be something big. And I guess there is pressure because one doesn't want to be on the bad side of whoever wants you to do something. Maybe it's your boss, maybe it's a significant other, but they want you to do something that doesn't fit your morality. Mm-hmm. And does this passage speak about that at all, your essential nature, or is that more something different in the book that would address that?
Well, that's a great question, Jerry. So let me think about that for a minute. Yes, right? Because the individualized expression that we are is it's like the stained glass through which our essential nature is shining, right? And that stained glass is actually the uniqueness of who we are. And those two things, the more in alignment they are, the more settled and centered we feel in ourselves, and the more fully we can engage in our lives, right? Integrity, to me, one of the best ways to describe integrity is wholeness, right? So the example in the dictionary is the integrity of the hull of a ship. So if you think of the hull of the ship, it's what the hull is made out of. It's the rivets or the glue or the tar, depending on what the hull is made out of, that holds that all together, right? So it's actually made of disparate pieces. But as the hull of the ship, when it has integrity, it actually does what it's supposed to do, which is float. And if it loses its integrity, which means it loses its wholeness, then you have to start bailing. So for me, there is an alignment between our essential self and the way that is then being expressed in the world through this unique presentation, physical, emotional, history, talents, all of that. And so when those two things are in integrity with each other, when there's a wholeness in it, we feel that sense of alignment. And we know when it's not aligned, right? And so I do think that that's an invitation then to continually ask ourselves, are we in alignment with ourselves? And it's a great question. And, it's an important thing to think about. Thanks.
Okay, I'm Willie again, still. I was thinking about flinging and surrender. And it seems to me that if you fling yourself into the universe, into the laws of the universe, and accept that this is who I am and this is how life works, then you don't have anything to surrender.
Yes, right. That is a great point.
Because surrendering to me is like I hear all the time, I'll just surrender it to God.
Right. Right.
But that's a thing, that's a situation, that's a problem that you feel like you're faced with, or...
Right. And you haven't actually given the universe a clue as to how you would like it to be resolved.
Exactly, yeah.
Right. And so, yes, and so that's a really nice distinction, because it is true that when we are flinging ourselves into the universal intelligence, we are surrendering our ego need to control, our ego need to have the answers, our ego discomfort with the unknown and how it's actually, and so there is something that we are in fact surrendering. But I do think it's a mistake that I hear people make. Well, I'm going to surrender it to God, and they forget that there's no directionality in that.
Any instructions.
They've given no instructions to the law, and so what the law has to use is simply everything that the thought atmosphere that we have, that we've brought with us, right? We've given it no new instruction. Now, if I've given it instruction and then I say, I'm going to let go and let God, great. But we have to know that that's what we've done. Right? Rather than, I have this problem and it's too big for me and I'm just going to give it up to God. Well, could you let the infinite universal intelligence know that you want to preserve the relationship or you don't? You don't care. Or you want the answer to be, you want the outcome to look and feel like this. Because what we're allowing the infinite to do, the universal intelligence, is actually to get us from here to there in the best possible way, without a lot of sidetracks, right? So
and
that's...
if we fling ourselves into the universe, into the intelligence of the universe, then we're accepting that we're whole, perfect, and complete.
Yes.
Already.
And we're daring to claim the end result. Right. And we're daring to claim the end result.
Yes.
We know who we are. We're daring to claim the end result. And then we're going, oh, okay, I get that that the intelligence,
now it's yours.
Well, the intelligence, I mean, it's managing the universe, for God's sakes. Really? It can't manage to get me from here to there, which to the universe is a nanosecond, right? And it's not even a molehill, it's an anthill, it's a grain of sand compared to the 13.8 billion years of the intelligent evolution of the universe as it continues to grow. So yes, that's the portion between the knowing of who I am and the end result. That's the portion that we trust in that universal intelligence to know how to do that. So I notice, one of the reasons why I love this so much, is I notice that it is this practice, exactly what we're talking about, that has allowed me to find equilibrium in the things that are going on in our worlds today. Because I keep flinging myself into the universal intelligence. I know what the end result is that I want. I know the truth not only of myself, but I know the truth about every other human being, actually all beings everywhere, as individualized expressions of the whole. And somehow there is a universal intelligence that does, in fact, know how to get us from here to that place where we are once again one and moving forward in a healthy and whole direction. And so it's exactly this that I use. Not to pretend it's not happening, not to withdraw from it, but to come to it with constructive thinking. Do you see? And I don't pretend to know all the answers, and I don't always know who's right and wrong. And sometimes I'm relieved not to have an opinion. Because I know that the infinite intelligence knows how to bring us from here to there. That's the constructive thinking. And over and over and over again, I'm recentering myself into that. Because I expect an end result that is actually moving us forward in a very whole and healthy way. Okay, got my wrap-up sign, so come on, we got to stop talking.
Well, and this is just a great plug for those who haven't already signed up for a home study group to go ahead and join us, because we are going to be closing registration as of tomorrow. And a little secret for those who are all over the world online listening to us right now, you can tune into our Facebook page tomorrow, where Dr. Petra is going to be having a special live to help, bring about the season for peace and nonviolence. We're going to do a special guided meditation.
Yep,
and an opportunity for those who haven't yet joined us to join us in a home study group. And another thing, you know why it matters to be a member here? Ross, I'm looking right at you. You get to do a lot of stuff, a lot of fun stuff.
Join again?
Yes, you need to join 3 or 4 times. No, for those who for those who have not yet got to understand what membership means here, membership matters. And why it matters is because we are a community, and we make decisions as a community. We participate as a community. We volunteer as a community. We give our financial gifts to a community that continues to give and give and give. And so Carmen, you can't see her right now, but Carmen and Dr. Petra will be hosting
stand up here with
membership.
Ray, stand up right here with me.
There we go.
Come on.
Get a little walk-up music. That's the wrong walk-up music. Anyways, I was out late last night.
We can tell.
Yeah. So membership matters. It's a class that's going to be going on here next Sunday, March 2nd. It's going to be in person only.
Really? I thought it was hybrid.
Well, we'll have to check on that.
I think it's hybrid. So it's going to be hybrid.
All right. So, anyways, you can check the website here in later on today, and we'll have an exact answer for you. But either way, you should attend. It's important, and membership does matter.
Yes.
And the next following day, which is on March the 3rd, for those who are looking to heal their life, heal their whole life.
Yeah.
Sherry Wood, our spiritual practitioner, is going to be hosting a class, and it is called Building a Healing Consciousness. So that one is going to be a delicious class.
And it's very much what we were talking about today. That's what it means to build a healing consciousness, not about just manifesting things. It's very much what we were talking about today.
Absolutely. And if I'm going to plug one last thing, because it is important. Volunteers, we love them here at CSL Dallas, and we are going to have a fair. It's going to be coming up in March 9th, and it's going to be all about the volunteer opportunities here at CSL Dallas. So make sure you join us after the celebration on March 9th.
Yes, and let's say one more thing. On the 2nd, we have a very special event during our Sunday celebration, which is the installation of our new assistant minister, Reverend Faye Abdus Salam. She's been working with us for a year. As she was finishing her ministerial training, she finished everything with flying colors. And so as of March 1st, she'll be an assistant minister, not just an assistant to the minister. So we'll be installing her on the 2nd with a beautiful ceremony. She takes her vows as an assistant minister. There will be a reception after the celebration. And of course, that will prepare us for our Membership Matters class, for those of you who are going to stay for that. So lots of things going on. Oh, and let's say the last thing, Membership Matters, because we have our annual meeting at the end of March. March 23rd is our annual meeting. It's a fabulous program with lots of volunteer acknowledgments, special awards, and a community engagement. A community engagement. What does CSL Dallas 3.0 really mean? So you need to be there whether you're a member or not. Members, of course, get to vote. So there's March is chock full. Stay on top of your the one-page flyer that we put out. If you're here, stay on top of the website. So lots of good stuff. We'll see you soon. We'll see you when you see you. Bye for now.